Hi, and welcome to another edition of North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski. And my very special guest today is Garrett Williams. And Garrett is a graduate of Beverly High School who has gone on to a career in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And so we're going to be talking to Garrett today about how you go from the media department at Beverly High School and BevCam to a film career in Hollywood. And Garrett is not in the studio with me today, but through the magic of technology, we have a connection with Garrett through Skype. So Garrett, are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, and welcome to BevCam.
Good morning from Los Angeles.
We didn't get you up too early, did we?
No, not at all.
Okay, well, Garrett, now tell us, what year did you graduate from Beverly High School?
I graduated in 2005 from Beverly High School.
Right. And I just want to remind our viewers that this was a time that there was very little programming on Channel 22, which is the educational channel, very little programming that was actually done by the students. And Garrett was one of the vanguard, the early students who actually started creating content for Channel 22. Garrett, describe to us at that time when you were in high school, what kind of media courses were being offered at Beverly High School?
As far as I can recall, I believe it was just a general sort of media production course that was led by Bob Dunn at the time. He was a fantastic teacher.
Right, he was the English teacher?
Right. And as far as I know, it was just that one class, and it was although it was a good class, it was relatively limited in terms of its scope because there was no like secondary level of that class or anything, and a lot of my experience happened outside of regular school hours, more of an extracurricular context.
Right, and you actually did work for BevCam. I know you volunteered here, and you also did some part-time work, and you were a paid employee, correct?
That's right. That's right. I was actually one of BevCam's first student employees.
Right. And I have something that I want to show you that you probably haven't seen in a very, very long time. I'm going to hold it up in front of me and ask the camera person to zoom in. And this is our 2004, the cover from the 2004 annual report. And this is one of the first productions that I did. This was the Second South Carolina String Band, and it was performed at Gordon College in their chapel. And the guy in the front there, the shadow, is you, actually. I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah. I think we shot a lot of those concerts actually. I had seen them several times. Which was a lot of fun. They were a great band, actually. They were really cool.
Dave Goss, who taught history at Gordon College, of course, was on the guitar, and they had actual period instruments, and they struck a set there. They set up a set that was sort of like where the soldiers would gather around the campfire at the end of the day and get their instruments after light their pipes and play and sing songs. So anyway,
That's right.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, tell us, did you have interest in media, in video making and movie making before you started in high school, or did that something that developed during your high school years?
It was mostly, I think it started my maybe 8th grade and into my freshman year of high school. Mm-hmm. There were some upperclassmen at the school who were, one was Ted Quinlan, who's the older brother of a friend Ted Quinlan was the younger brother of Stephen Quinlan, who at the time had his own TV show on BevCam, or I guess it was called like Cable Access at the time. Mm-hmm. But Ted and I were interested in doing our own thing, so we came into BevCam one day and said, "Hey, we want to like make our own TV show," and we basically just kind of asked what steps we needed to take in order to do that ourselves. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of where my interest started. It was mostly in comedy writing and trying to like write sketches and put sketches together for the channel. And It never really turned into anything, but it was that intention that really brought me toward volunteering with the station and getting involved in media production.
Right. And I know you also, and you don't know this, but over in the last 3 or 4 days at a business meeting, I ran into Dick Stone at Stone Video Productions, who Right. I told him I was going to do this show with you, and he said to say hi because you worked for him, right?
I did, yeah. I worked at Stone Productions a little bit, yeah.
And that was a little,
That's
tell
right.
us about what kind of business was that? What kind of things did you do there?
I believe we did some video, like on-site video recording, but a lot of my responsibilities there were mostly like tape duping and, manufacturing copies of things,
Yeah.
printing out labels and stuff like
Not a lot of creative content.
that. No.
So, Garrett, after high school, you decided to take up this as a career in college. Tell us about your college years, where you went, and what course of study you took.
Sure. I started at Keene State College in New Hampshire, which for a state school has a fantastic video and film program. I was there for about a year, and then I decided that I wanted something, I guess, a little more challenging out of a film program. So I took the following fall semester off and actually worked at BevCam in the meantime while I figured out what I wanted to do. At that time, I guess at the end of the fall semester, I applied to Emerson College, which is where I finished the rest of my bachelor's degree in film.
Mm-hmm. Now, after Emerson College, did you work locally here, or how did you segue into Los Angeles? How did you get to Los Angeles?
I didn't work locally very much. I mean, there were a few projects here and there, but by the time I graduated, I kind of understood that in order to take the path that I needed to take in my career, I'd need to move to Los Angeles and really give it a shot, particularly because I didn't know if I was ever going to have the opportunity again. When you finish college, I guess, or at least when I finished college, it was a unique opportunity to sort of just like pick up everything and leave, or like go to wherever I wanted to be in the world, which is a unique opportunity that you don't get at many points in your life. So I decided to go to Los Angeles and give it a shot, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. Now that must have been pretty daunting for you. I mean, what was your sense? What was your experience out there when you first went out there? Were you a little scared? Were you kind of describe that for us?
Emerson is a great alumni program, and they have a campus in Los Angeles that they send a lot of kids to. So there's sort of a web of alumni out here already that are sort of like available to you if you decide to come out here. So I already had a lot of friends that were out here that were saying like, oh, if you come out, we can get you on sets and things. So I had a little bit of a safety net. Also, I was with my girlfriend at the time and my wife now. Her name's Sonia. She's a graduate of Hamilton Wenham Regional High School. Cool. And we just basically, we hopped in my Prius, we packed everything that we owned into my Toyota Prius and drove across the country and made it work.
Not a lot of big furniture then, huh?
No,
well, congratulations. Now, any kind of first impressions out there, any kind of interesting stories or kind of things that happened to you in the first few years that you want to share with us?
Sure. I mean, much like with any, I guess, professional experience, there's a certain learning curve, I guess you would say.
Sure.
So in the beginning, the way that it typically works is that you have to just like get on sets and do a lot of student films or projects that like don't really pay. But the phrase that everybody uses is you get copy credit meals. So at that, in the beginning, you sort of have to work these like really long, really tough days for, no pay and like maybe a sandwich at lunch or something.
Yeah.
So it was a little rough in the beginning, but I picked up a job at this production company called Absolutely, who is operated by Tim and Eric, who are like a comedy duo who make like a bunch of different TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So I worked at their production facility and got to see firsthand how to make an actual for national broadcast television show on like a micro budget. So that was kind of like an interesting on the job training, to say the least. If anybody's familiar with what that comedy troupe is like, it's just kind of it's a unique way to start in LA for sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking about clips and about shows, we're gonna take a look at a few clips that you have sent us, and we're going to share these with our audience, and we can talk about this a little bit. The first one is called "Might Not," and I think we're going to see a couple clips from a music video, and I think one of them is very unique, and it's an underwater scene, and maybe as we watch it here, you can kind of describe some of the situations and how this was done. I know you mentioned to me that you had to have full divers in full diving costumes with lights. Maybe you can describe that as we're looking at it. So I'll let the control room show that. Okay, here we go.
Sure. This is a hip hop artist named Belly, and this is a video for Belly and The Weeknd. Water shot this is a series of underwater shots we did at a public pool in a neighborhood called Silver Lake. Essentially what that requires is that you black out all the walls of the pool, and then you either light from above or a combination of above and in the water.
Right.
So we used underwater lights, which have these like airtight or watertight casings. You can use them underwater. Obviously, they're much safer. But in order to actually do that, to practically like set the lights where you want them, you need to have people in dive gear. So it's like a whole process. Wow. Especially because safety is also an issue. So you need divers there to watch all these. Actually, the models they hired weren't really great swimmers, which is kind of.
Well, they seem to be doing okay in the water there.
They're great, and they ended up doing a great job, but they weren't doing a great job like holding their breath.
So were these divers that you turn into camera people, or camera people that you put diving suits on, or both?
Well, unique enough to LA that the infrastructure here is sort of made for this sort of thing. So you have guys that you can call that are specifically underwater lighting technicians, which is what we did in this case, and underwater cameramen and things like that. And
we're gonna show another clip from that same video, which has a unique kind of a 360-degree rotating view. And maybe because you worked, I didn't tell the audience, but you were the director of photography on this particular production. So tell us about.
No, I was the gaffer on these productions.
Oh, you were the director of photography. Come on,
yeah,
work with me here, Garrett.
I can't rightfully take that credit. Okay. I'm mostly. Yeah,
all right, so we're gonna show this rotating thing now. Maybe you can describe that.
Sure. The difficult thing about this is that the director and the director of photography wanted to do that shot practically. So what it required was putting the talent sitting on a chair and lights on a rotating, like a 5-foot base Lazy Susan that could rotate around and look at 360 degrees of the room that everybody's in. Yeah. So it was kind of a unique challenge in that they wanted to be able to see the entire room, so we couldn't have lighting stands anywhere or grip stands or, they didn't want to see any camera people. So basically, like, we would set up the shot and then everybody would leave the room aside from the background actors and stuff. And then, they'd give them a couple spins and they'd let them like perform the song. Yeah. Interesting. Well, when you hear it, BevCam, Garrett, we never made you do underwater shots, did we? No, you didn't. Although when I was in high school, I did do some really, really low-level chroma key, like green screen, essentially. Yeah. But I didn't have green, so I used a red blanket. So I guess like really early on, I was doing some VFX stuff, but never underwater stuff. Well, there you go. There's that creativity. Well, we're going to take a look at another one where it says here you were the chief lighting technician, and this one is called Night Owls, and we're going to watch the whole thing. The audience will see the audio and video, and then we'll come back afterwards, and you can talk about this one, okay? Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, Peter. I'm in Will's house.
Okay. Well, you need to explain to me why you're there.
After you guys left the banquet, I met this girl, and then I went back to her house.
You wanna go upstairs?
Hello? Lady?
Only problem is it's not her house. It's Will's house.
Where is she now?
I have to call you back.
No.
Lady! Oh, God. Hey, get up! Did you take something? Oh! Hi, doctor, thank you so much.
We're not out of the woods yet. You're just gonna have to keep her awake.
Keep her awake? What happens if she falls asleep?
Well, then her brain will stop sending the signal to her lungs that she needs to breathe. But you're not gonna let that happen, so we have to worry about that, do we?
I would like to know why we are in my boss's house.
Don't let her talk to anyone.
That's for you.
Don't let her leave.
That might be a bit of a challenge.
I am begging you, do not back out of this door.
Dude, let go.
How's it going there, champ?
You know, I think pretty good. Everything seems to be under control.
And that's from is this a movie, Night Owls, Garrett, a full-length feature film?
Yep, that's a feature film. Yeah.
Yeah. And has it been released already?
Yes, it's actually on demand right now on most services. So if you can find it, I recommend you watch it. It's really good.
Okay, it looks like a lot of good comedy stuff in there. Now you were mentioning that the director wanted all of these night shots in there. So tell us about the as a lighting technician here, some of the things that you had to deal with on this production.
Right. Yeah, part of the I guess the main motivation of the script is that it happens over the course of one night. So if you break down the script into individual scenes, almost all of them take place at night, which makes perfect sense. Obviously, there's some morning stuff or night stuff in the beginning and then morning stuff at the end of the movie. But because of that, that meant that if you're not shooting on a stage and you're on a house and you're at an actual house and you want to see out the windows, you actually need to shoot at night. So I think we shot something like 15 or 17 night shoots at that house, mostly because there are windows on almost every wall of that property.
Yeah.
So no matter where you're looking in the house, there's always like a window, which you can sort of tent out and shoot during the day sometimes, but we didn't really have the budget to do that. And the director wanted to be able to see the depth, like out into the pool area or out into the front yard for all of those shots.
Yeah.
So we ended up shooting overnights for like 15 or 17 days or something. It was crazy.
So you really became night owls during this particular.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now we have a third production here. This is called Revolver, and it says here you were the director of photography here. Don't disappoint me now. Okay, so this is called Revolver, and so set the scene for us here. What is this production about?
This is a short film. A good friend of mine is a writer. He's written a lot of shorts and a few features. His most recent feature was called The Trust, which starred Nicolas Cage and Elijah Wood. His name is Adam Hirsch. He's great. But he and I are kind of like production partners in some smaller things. And this is a passion project that we put together as a piece to be able to show people to maybe one day make a feature. And he's since making this, expanded that into a feature script. And it's kind of like been on the back burner for a long time. There's a chance eventually this will get turned into a larger, bigger scope project.
Okay, so we're gonna have our control room put this up. This is called Revolver, and we'll watch this together. Now this one looks like it was pretty much shot on location. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was on location in a house in Pasadena, or a hotel in Pasadena.
Right, because I noticed that the shot when the guy with the gun there is, you could see through the door, and you could see the mountains in the background there. So anything interesting? Any kind of difficulties or challenges with shooting this, Garrett?
Well, seeing as it was a sort of a low budget short film, a lot of times you have to compensate not having an art department or as much money for art department with actually getting practical locations that look like rundown motels.
Yeah.
So we ended up shooting in a hotel because we liked the look of it, and eventually discovered that it was actually the seedy motel that we were imagining in the script. So that came with its challenges. But it was a fun challenge. We shot that over the course of maybe 2 days, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, you're out there now. How long have you been out in Hollywood and LA, Garrett?
We moved out here in 2009, I want to say, so about 6 years. I think it'll be 7 in the fall.
Yeah. Now, so far, has your career and the things that you've been doing, has it kind of taken the trajectory that you were anticipating when you first went out there?
Yeah, it has. There's an education to be had about actually like realizing how the film industry works, and that almost everybody that comes out here wants to direct or act or be a cinematographer before they actually realize what it takes to get to that position. So I've sort of like I've re-aimed my goals a little bit, and I'm still on the right path to being a cinematographer, a feature film cinematographer. But it's like, it's just like a different path than I thought it would take.
Yeah.
Right now I'm in the union as an electrical technician, as like a lighting guy, basically like a gaffer or a chief lighting technician. And that's sort of my trajectory towards shooting. As I'm constantly learning more and more about lighting scenes and camera placement and motivation and things like that. But my on-the-job training out here has been excellent so far.
So your ambition then is to become a cinematographer, and I guess being the lighting technician, being behind the scenes, that helps you kind of hone your chops to get where you want to go.
Absolutely, I would say so.
Yeah. And what do you see? What do you see in the future? Do you see yourself staying out there and staying in movies? What does the future? What do you think it holds for you?
Yeah, that's the idea. I never have a very planned out life goal calendar necessarily, but I really like where I am now, and I like where my career is headed, and I'm very happy with my wife living out here. And I'm just going to play it by ear and see where I am in a couple of years. Yeah.
Now, do you work normally like an 8 to 5, or tell us kind of the hours? Is it because of shooting schedules and things? Do you work sort of like weird hours and work at night? And you told us that you did stay up quite a few nights for the Night Owls project.
Right. Different jobs have different requirements, absolutely. But typically what I'd say is that the standard work day is about 12 hours, sometimes as little as like 8 or 10, but most of the time it's about 12 hours. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's 6 to 6 if you're lucky, because then you can still get out and have a reasonable evening. But other times you'll be in splits, for instance. So you start at noon and end at midnight. It really depends on the requirements of the script. For instance, if you need night or if you need morning, then you have to adjust call for those sort of things. Or if you're on a stage, you could shoot 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day and have some semblance of a normal schedule. Yeah. But it all depends on the project that you're shooting. Yeah.
Well, Garrett, it was a pleasure having you with us and talking to you out there in California. You're quite a success story here, going from Beverly High School Media Department through BevCam and out into Hollywood. And I want to thank you for being on the show. And when you do get up and go up to receive your Academy Award, be sure to give a shout out to BevCam, okay?
Okay. That'll be pretty far in the future, if at all.
Well, thank you for joining us, Garrett. My guest today has been Garrett Williams, and you've been watching North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski. We'll see you next time.